Hello everyone, it's Raspberry here. Recently, I hit my 10-year anniversary of posting online, which is incredibly weird and just a little disorienting to think that I have had a presence for that long on the internet. But not only that, I also recently hit 5,000 subscribers, and I just wanted to give a massive thank you for everyone who has supported me in my art. I remember when I hit 100 watchers on DeviantArt, which if you know what that is, you deserve a senior discount, like me, and I felt on top of the world. And honestly, this 5,000 subscriber milestone has given me that same amount of euphoria, and I never thought I would hit this number, so I just wanted to say thank you so much. So, how about we get on with the video, shall we? And since I realized I've been doing art for 10 years now, I've been doing a whole lot of reflecting on my art journey, and I figured, why don't I make a video that I wish I could have seen when I was a younger artist? And I know a lot of artists are always looking for some advice, including myself, so this would be, if I could go back in time, any art advice I wish I could tell my younger self. Now these tips are in no particular order, but I believe that each and every piece of information could apply to any artist at any level. So how about we get started? First things first, let's talk about the first piece of advice I have for my younger self. Practicing the fundamentals. I know this is a really boring piece of advice, but hear me out. When learning something for the first time, like, I don't know, math, you go over the very basics to begin to expand upon the fundamentals. Like, if you did not know how to do addition, you would not know how to do algebra later on without the fundamentals. They are incredibly important, but they also do not need to dictate everything you draw. Like, if you want to do a more cartoony, stylized art, learning anatomy or realistic proportions probably isn't in the kind of wheelhouse that you want. But learning how to do perspective might benefit you a lot. Or if you're wanting to do realism, anatomy might be for you, and by might, I mean absolutely for you. That's the whole point of realism. You do not need to learn absolutely everything, but I believe sitting down and practicing fundamentals, even for just 10 minutes a day, is massively beneficial for your art. And it's always fun to learn, at least for me, which leads into my second piece of advice. Make learning fun. Personally, for me, if something does not interest me, I have an incredibly hard time sitting down and learning about it. It is why I am so bad in science and math. But there are ways to make learning fun. What I used to do in my science classes is I would apply the concepts to things I enjoyed at the moment, like learning about cells. I would apply it to that Cells at Work anime. And I just thought about it like that instead of the way that teachers would teach me. But making learning fun for art is incredibly easy. Just draw exactly what you want. What? I know, mind blowing. When I mentioned practicing fundamentals, each and every fundamental can be applied into your actual art pieces. Like if you want to draw a cool pose of one of your favorite JoJo's characters, bam, anatomy, bam, perspective. And if you want to color it, bam, lighting and shading. It is all wrapped up nicely within your art piece. Now, I will say it is good to sit down and do some gesture drawings and figure studies, but most of the learning you will do with your art will be from actual practical applications. For me personally, that is where I learn about 90% of my skills, with the other 10% being sitting down and practicing some of the fundamentals. And for doing that, I would personally recommend breaking it down piece by piece. Like if you want to learn how to draw anatomy better, I would recommend breaking the body down into the separate sections. Like if you want to learn how to draw eyes better, I would personally recommend learning how to draw the face and the head together. Or if you're wanting to learn how to draw buff people, start with the torso and then move on to the arms and the legs. Now hands and feet, I recommend learning how to draw completely separate from the body, as they are both very complicated things to learn how to draw. There's a lot of moving parts there, and it's a little more difficult than drawing a circle for a head and a triangle, you know? But at some point, make sure that you teach yourself how to actually connect the hands and the feet to the rest of the body, but by breaking them up into separate chunks, I find that it is easier to absorb the information better, and you will feel less bored and less tired afterwards. At least for me. I cannot speak for everybody though, but try it out. Make it fun, make it simple, and enjoy what you create. The next piece of advice I have is to learn to live with your mistakes. As a younger artist, anytime I had a piece of art that wasn't quote unquote perfect, I would destroy it, or write self-deprecating comments, or I would scribble all over it. I would never let myself sit and actually learn from my mistakes because I felt like a failure if it wasn't perfect immediately. And I feel like this was a major reason why my art stagnated a lot during my youth. Because mistakes aren't something to be destroyed and ignored. Making mistakes is part of being human, and mistakes actively help us learn. If you make a mistake with an art piece, like you drew a hand backwards and inked over it, oh no, that sucks. But you know for next time to double check your work. And for a tip that actually helps, go ahead and look at your thumbs. When your palms are outwards, the thumbs should be facing inwards at each other. Or if you're looking from the back of your hand, the thumbs will be pointed outwards. That's a little tip for you. Or let's say you're testing out some new fine liners, but they're water-based and you go over them with watercolor. Now, I've done this before, and it makes an absolute mess and will ruin your piece. But now you'll know that you need different fine liners for different mediums. Now, a lot of these mistakes seem simple, but these are just some examples that I can think of off the top of my head. Personally, if an art piece looks wrong / you kind of think something is wrong, instead of destroying it, just take a step back and go do something else for like 15 minutes. Obviously, if this is your job, you might not be able to just get up and walk away, but go ahead and focus on something different for that 15 minutes. And once you're feeling ready, come back to your piece, look at it, and see if you can figure out where the mistake is and what needs to be changed. This tip has helped me massively with finding my mistakes and figuring out what to do with them. And as I've mentioned before, mistakes are so helpful for artists, but they are also incredibly frustrating. So remember, don't forget to take a deep breath. Go ahead and just get up, move around, and we'll transition into my next point because it segues almost amazingly with this last point. Now, as I mentioned before, my next point is take breaks. Oh my god, if any of these tips need to be emphasized, this is the one I would plaster absolutely everywhere. Not only are breaks good for your mental health, but they are almost required for your physical health. So just a little backstory on me. I used to draw for 8 to 10 hours a day with very, very few breaks in between. This caused me to have a lot of wrist issues, including my clicky wrist, and it has hindered my drawing ability. Now, not only was I drawing for that long, I also played instruments like the flute and the saxophone, which require a lot of wrist and finger movements, especially if you're doing long runs and trills. And on top of that, I was doing schoolwork and typing and writing stories and just way too much. I was constantly using my wrist, which technically you're not even supposed to do with drawing. You're supposed to draw with your entire arm to avoid injury. So there's another little tip for you. But I absolutely killed my wrist, and it made it so I was forced to take breaks instead of purposely taking them. It also didn't help that I was just doing way too much, so I felt like I barely had time for breaks. So please, take a break before you hurt yourself. I personally recommend doing some wrist stretches during your breaks. The bare minimum wrist stretches you need to do is a wrist flexor stretch and a wrist extensor stretch. Now these are where you stretch your palm outwards, you take your hand, you pull it back towards you, and then the other one is you flip your palm upside down and you do it the other way. That is the bare minimum you should do, and they are very simple and they'll save you a lot of agony later on in your life. You can also open and close your hands repeatedly for 10 to 15 seconds, which kind of strengthens your wrist a little bit, but after that, I would just give them a break. Go do something else. Read, watch a movie, a show, some YouTube, rot in bed listening to your sad vibes playlist and think about all the things you wish you could have done. Go get some water. And for your mental health, this comes in the form of kind of what I mentioned earlier. Sometimes you literally just need to step away from your art so you can kind of have a new burst of inspiration. I recommend doing this if you are really stuck with a piece of art, like this one in the background. I was really struggling with some of it, so I would take breaks and come back with a completely fresh mindset, and I kind of figured out what I was missing. It is so beneficial. I recommend taking breaks every hour or so. It's also just good to do full body stretches / movements during your breaks. We are not meant to sit for hours at a time, so please do yourself a favor and get up and schmoove. Now, the last piece of advice I have, and ignore my statement about the last one that I could plaster everywhere, this is probably the most important piece of advice, and it's don't give up. In the art world right now, / the world in general, we are dealing with more negativity than I have ever seen. Comparisons to artists being better than you, toxic communities who will shame and shun creativity, the rise of AIs and companies replacing humans with machines, and just honestly, the entire current state of the world. Everything is so stressful, and sometimes it can feel like no matter what you do, it's just not enough. It can feel like your art is pointless within the current standing of the world. There is just way too much going on, and so one might think, why does it even matter? But those thoughts are hogwash. It's your brain just trying to bog you down. Now, it can be incredibly difficult to get past those negative thoughts. It's something that I struggle with almost every day. And it can cause me to feel like I'm just not enough. And it makes me think, well, what's the point of me making my art if nobody is going to go out there and get it? We're all just going to be replaced by machines. But if you give in to those thoughts, then the entire world is missing out on you. Your creativity, your inspiration, your light, and your hope within this dark world. Without your art, the world would be stale and bland. AI could take over. AI could replace artists in the industry. But art is nothing without the human element. All the mistakes within the brushstrokes, the personal touches, all the hidden little secrets hidden underneath the layers, the hours of commitment and determination and love that is poured onto each and every canvas, whether digital or traditional. It's all made by you. And that's why you cannot give up. The world would be less colorful without human creation. There will always be a demand for art, and there will always be a demand for human created art. And you know, there is someone out there who is always cheering you on. Your very first follower, whether a friend, a family, or even someone random on the internet. They are supporting you in your art. You cannot give up. There is someone out there who is always cheering you on, especially during these times. Now, it can be really tough. It can feel so hopeless to create sometimes. But do not give up. Because at the end of the day, I am here cheering you on. And I really wish I could tell my younger self to never give up on her dreams. I gave up at one point. I did. I stopped drawing. I stopped posting. I felt like it was all pointless because art was not a quote-unquote lucrative field. But who gives a shit about that? There are so many ways to feel fulfilled within your art, so please do not give up, no matter what your struggle is. I'm here for you, and there is a massive community out there who is there for you. So please, keep giving your hope. Keep dreaming. Keep creating. Sorry for a very somber end to this advice video. I just really wanted to get that kind of hopeful message out there, especially within the kind of shit show we're living in. But thank you for watching this video, and again, another massive thank you to everyone who has subscribed and supported me. I would love to be able to hit 10,000 subscribers at the end of this year. I kind of hate doing this subscriber thing, but I know statistically it works. So if you did enjoy this video, feel free to subscribe, and hopefully my next video will not take 2 months to make again. Oh my god, I am very bad at posting long form videos, but I do enjoy making them. So stay tuned for other exciting things, because I may or may not be working on a new PNG tuber, where I may or may not start streaming again, twitch.tv/itsraspberry. So stay tuned. Anyways, I'll see you next time.